Hello and welcome to today's session where we're going to talk about deployment. My name is Peter and as always I have Roger with me. Roger, welcome.
Thank you.
It will be a great day. Of course, we will learn a lot about OS deployment and updates and so on. And this is actually the third session for us in the technical department. And nowadays we have actually competition from the sales guys. They have started last week a livecast called Säljsoffan in Swedish. We'll translate to Sales Couch in English. So we should really have a good name for us as well, I think. And I think we will try to engage our audience here today and have them come up with ideas. The best idea or an idea that we will use will be promoted with some great stuff, maybe a upkeeper license or two, or something else. We'll see. That's kind of. So if you have any idea for what we're going to call this live cast where we talk about technical stuff, please write it in the chat to the right in your YouTube browser. If you have any questions during this session, also write it in the chat and we will answer them at the end of this session. So let's go on and talk about today's topic.
Yeah, what is that?
It says on my T-shirt, Windows 10, deploy them all.
I heard it before, Windows 10.
I heard it before. So we're going to talk about creating images, updating images, and distribute them and so on. So where to start? That's the big question.
Okay. We have in Upkeeper, we have talked about application and hardware, how we can deploy application, and application can be some settings or Adobe Reader and so on. And hardware is to get all the drivers to the machine. And before we can do that, we need an operating system to be installed. And we can do it in two ways. We can create our master image that we have always done from XP and so on. Or we can deploy an unattended installation, so we don't create the master image.
So what's the benefit of distributing an unattended?
Unattended or an image we can add perhaps some application, we can update it to the latest, so we have the latest KB on it, and perhaps have some other settings that we want the image to have. We have a little more function if we want to deploy outside the company, so we can use HTTPS to download the image. We can't download an unattended in an ISO and install it, so that's one big thing there. But in the end, if you deploy an unattended where we run the setup.exe or deploy our image, it will work fine in both cases.
Okay.
In Upkeeper, we have something called platforms, and we have some names here. Platform is something where we tell when we reboot the machine or boot on WinPE, Upkeeper SUS, and the computer have assignment that's not set to normal or is disabled, we will execute what we have added in the platform. And often it is we run dism to unpack image file, or we run setup.exe to deploy the unattended. But it can be something else. Yeah,
of course.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Use a platform.
So that's actually why we call it a platform. It can be an image, it can be a clean image, or it can be an image with applications and drivers and so on. So, but we recommend a clean image,
of course.
Image, yes.
And that's often called for an enterprise image. It's a small image. We have some customers have a platform where when you boot on that, it will only write zeros on the disk. So if you have a machine that will be sent off and you want to make sure you don't have any information that can be used in any way, so just to write lots of zeros 10 times on the whole disk, and perhaps it will burn. It can happen, perhaps or not,
yeah.
But it's different. But now we want to build our image.
Yeah.
And we need to download our ISO from Microsoft. And Microsoft is starting to update those ISO every month. So if you go and download it, you will always have the latest. So you will not have so much updates to install. And we see in Windows 10, if you look back in Windows 7 and XP, we have lots of updates that have to be installed before you can run image build or sysprep when we did in XP. But now Windows 10 we only have 1 or 2 setups we have to install before the machine is updated and ready to create a master image. We have downloaded our ISO from Microsoft. In this case it's 1909. We tell what will happen when we boot on WinPE AppKeeper SUSE. We come that we will run setup.exe. We send some argument to it that will run unattended, and we have our response file appkeeper.xml. And in the settings we will tell that we will install this on partition number 2, and it will be Windows 10 Education in this case. You can use name or a number. The example here is name. It's more clear what we want to install. Remember that Microsoft sometimes change what the name is. So sometimes it's called Windows 10 Pro and sometimes Windows 10 Professional.
Yeah.
So make sure you have the right name. It's not.
And that's actually some information when we come to troubleshoot.
Yeah.
If you can't deploy, you have to check that this value is correct. These settings files, do I have to create them myself, or
you can create them by yourself, or you can find it in our support web. I'm going to show you soon. To know what the name it is, you can use dism and get the information for this win file that is in the ISO. So you can find it. You have some command from command prompt. Else, remember something that is sometimes is problem. The first startup in the setup before setup runs. If you download English or Swedish or Germany, remember to add right EU language. So that's command. And after that, install operating system. We will give a computer name for it, and we add a hard password here, and that will not be stored for after you have sysprepped it, so you can have a simple one. And we run the script that will be preparing the master image to create and so on. Yeah.
So this is the default. As you said, we can find this at our support web.
Yeah, and there are 2 ways. We can go for help, and we can write image, and you will find create OS image. Or if we go straight forward, we can do it from here, and we find create OS image. This will describe how you can deploy. If you want to deploy Windows 7 or 8 or 8.1 or Windows 10 is the same. Good to know, here we have some settings for Windows Update. If you have your own, you want to make sure when you install unattended installation, you want to use your Windows Update service you have on premise. You can trigger it so it will update and install those updates. That can be good if you're running Windows 7 or Windows 8, but if you run Windows 10, that's not necessary.
Okay.
We already have download one file and install it. Little bit after process, when everything is ready, we PXE the machine. It will boot an AppKeeper SUSE, perhaps around Windows Update, run some custom application. But that's not recommend, but we have customers want to have some application. If you don't have, for case Office and all Office you want to install and you want to update it, it can be sometimes good to do that. For all lots of updates for Office, Microsoft Office that have to be installed. So
over the years, we have had a lot of questions about that process step, add applications, because it's nothing we don't recommend it. But we have seen customers that want to use it, and therefore we have it in the process. So that's why it's there.
Yes. And after that, we will add an application that we recommend that will trigger, run sysprep on the machine, and do some preparation, and run sysprep and reboot and boot on WinPE, and you will get your master image that's created. For enterprise, this is a small one. We call it master image. Sometimes we have customers talking about golden image. It's the same.
Yeah. As you said, this simple image with only the operating system, it's so clean. It's nothing else on it. It's also called thin image from time to time. So that's another name for the exact same thing.
Lots of names.
Lots of names.
But we mean the same.
Yeah.
And so on. Steps are what you need to do. You will download a zip file and do some configuration and make sure right upkeep client is installed. And you have to download the ISO unpacked if you want to run Windows Update and so on. And the reg file and everything is there.
Yes.
So read it before you start.
Read it through.
Yeah,
from
everything.
Start to finish.
Yeah.
Yes.
The whole. Yeah, it's lots of pictures, so it's not so much text.
So is there any difference between making an image of like Windows 8 and Windows 10 or?
Difference from Windows 8 to Windows 10? No.
Okay.
More that the sysprep sometimes fails, and we saw it already in Windows 8 that we had problems to run sysprep after we have triggered Windows Update on the machine, and after a while we find out that if Windows Store application have been updated and not provisioned to all the users as is on the machine, sysprep will fail. And one solution is that you remove that application that has been updated, and in the beginning it always was Candy Crush. That's a very important application for Microsoft to have in the Windows image.
Really important. Really important.
That was updated. So one way is to make sure the Windows machine, our master machine, don't has access to the internet.
Okay.
That's the simplest way to not get this error. And we have a support when you know issues. You can see it about the Windows Store. And if you run Windows Enterprise, you can add some settings in the register that will stop to update Windows Store, but at least earlier version of Windows Pro that was not working. It's not allowed to stop Windows Store application to update, but you was able to do it in Enterprise. So you have some difference there. So is this way, make sure the machine can't access the internet.
Okay.
And that's why when we have downloaded, the next thing I recommend, go to Microsoft support page and download the latest Windows 10 KB update.
Okay.
Yeah. That we can download, we can add as create an application. So when we have installed operating system, we add the latest update, and after that we run some cleanup perhaps and run the sysprep, and that's done.
That's done. We have done the image.
We have done the image.
Great.
Yeah.
So are we ready to go for the next step? Or
no. One thing to remember.
Okay.
Remember that I told you, read everything.
Yes.
And when you go to update and see what update you have and choose your KB you have, read the whole text.
Okay. So that's a concept coming back to us.
Yeah, but
you have to read everything.
Yeah, you have to read.
Yeah.
For if you go down here, you can see sometimes that you have to make sure you have the latest service stack updates on the machine.
Okay.
So perhaps it's not one update, you have to install 2 updates.
Yeah.
And so on. So read the whole page.
Yeah.
As always.
Great.
Yeah.
I think that wraps the create image section up, right?
Should we show something how it's looking up, Keeper?
Yeah, we can. Of course.
Okay, so we have our Windows 10 unattended, we have added. We have our image build packet that we have. We have our KB, the latest one, we have packet, and so on. And we need to create our master computer for this. We add our Windows 10 1909. No hardware. This will be run on the virtual machine, not on a physical machine. Remember that. So we don't get any drivers that's hard to remove when sysprep runs.
Yep.
So always on a virtual machine. Always. We save it.
So what about drivers for the virtual machine? How should we think about that?
Not more, that's not necessary. So we need a network.
Yep.
And that's it. Perhaps disk can be good.
Disk as well. Yeah.
You can run in Hyper-V or VMware, doesn't matter, or some other virtual machines, environment if you have it. But don't add any graphic card. Don't run setups for drivers for the machine. So just keep it as clean as possible.
Yes.
For when you run sysprep, it can remove all the settings machine have, but it can't uninstall application. So remember, if you don't want that application be in the master image, make sure don't install that application.
Of course.
We have our master. We need to add some applications. So we have our image build, we have our KB, and we have a reboot. And the reboot has perhaps some cleanup. That is, you have some different command that will you can run with some argument that do a cleanup on it. Some MVP recommend that you do that, and some say that doesn't matter. But you can do it. It will not harm the master image. So make sure the application you add have different priority. So we install in the right order.
Right, yeah.
So the KB we install first, reboot after that, and the image build will be the last one.
And these packages.
Yeah.
I know we're gonna get this question. Yeah. Where are they? Can I get them?
Yeah.
So is there a way to get these packages, or should everyone build them themselves?
The image build packet, you can find it here in the support page.
So in the same page as we were before, you have all the information about those packages.
So you can download it there.
Yeah.
So that's any question. The KB, you will download it from Microsoft and create an application packet. It's an MSU file you install. So just install it.
Great.
So you have, it's no question. Reboot, that's a new one.
Yep.
Clean up,
fresh for today.
Fresh today. But I will add some information at what some MVP are recommended to do.
Yes, perfect.
So, and after this, you PXE the master machine and go grab a coffee.
Great.
Nothing
else. Let's go. Let's do the same for a short while. Great, we're back again, and we have created our image. We had a short sip of coffee. I had some water actually. So let's go on. We have talked about creating the image. And the next big thing, we know, everyone who has been working with images, is that you have to update them all the time. So how shall we go about to update our image, and what's the important things about it?
Okay, update the image for Upkeeper. So when we redeploy operating system or doing a bare metal installation, we do the same. We start up our master image and download the latest KB, perhaps a new ISO. Now Microsoft is starting to update those every month. And just run the same process.
Same process, okay.
And go and grab a coffee. And after that it's done. So you don't need to do so. You add about 5-15 minutes, and after that just will work in the background. But then did you think about the machine that's already out there and update those?
Well, yes, I think about them as well.
Yeah, that can be a little harder.
Okay.
But there are different ways, but remember here, make sure you keep all the machine updated so they have the latest drivers, the latest firmwares for everything on the hardware, the latest BIOS.
Yep.
Before you begin. You can just create a packet in Upkeeper that will download all the drivers that's necessary. You can use Windows Store for Business and tell that will use that local driver folder. So when it will update Windows 10, it will install the drivers at the same time. And after that, it will reboot, so you get the latest. But we know we have customers that have issue where we get the blue screen and so on. And if we take a look at some KB that Microsoft roll out, they have been issue with the Bluetooth. So you have to update those latest. So you always have to update the machine, and it's always drivers, and firmwares and drivers.
Okay. So what about when you have your machines and you are letting them update themselves, so to say, and you want to maintain your own image as good as you can do? What's your opinion? Should you let your master image update itself and make the images of that, or should you always take the new one from Microsoft?
Always take the new one from Microsoft.
Okay.
Always start from the beginning, so we don't. When we create our master image, we always start from the beginning. So it's a clean, unattended installation that we add the latest KB and run sysprep on the machine. So we don't reopen an image that we already have created. There are support that you can run sysprep on the machine about 10 times, I think. But if you have to run more than once, something has failed. So you should only need to run it once. Yeah. And when you have everything up and running and you have the latest ISO you can download, so it's not so much work as it was in Windows 7 or as Windows XP, when Microsoft just release one ISO every 4 years or so. Then it's so good to have a factory image that you have to work with every time, so you save lots of time. Yeah, start from the beginning every time when you create.
We talked about updating the computers out there. And sometimes we get the question, how should I do with the image located on the clients? If I have to reinstall my clients, how should I go about that? How should I do this in the best way? The best way.
If we take a look at this, we have this platform. We have pointed out the Win file. That's a Windows 10 Enterprise Resealed. We should have two platforms, one that is in test and one that is in production.
Yes.
And when we have built a new image, we need to test it on the hardware and make sure everything works and it can domain join if that's something it should be do.
Yeah.
And we can add some application and get a unique ID. After that, everything is fine. We copy the Windows Reseal file to the production folder in the distribution point. So in this case, we will replace this image with a new one and click Update Image Information. That will make sure we get a new CRC value. So when we run a reinstall from scratch, it will remove the old one and copy the new one.
Yeah.
If you point out a new folder, then the old image will be there after the installation, and then perhaps you will get out of space in the server partition. So make sure you use the same folder and the same name, so you always replace the image that is local on the local machine.
Yeah. And you can always make a package where you distribute the image file in advance of the big rollout and so on, so you can be prepared out there.
Yeah. And we can add some random offset on that application, so we can push out 6 gig and not on every machine at the same time.
Yeah.
That's a good function.
That's a really good
yeah, that's
function,
a good. Yeah.
So is there any pointers when it comes to updating the image? Is there anything we should look out for?
No.
No, it's
not
kind of a straightforward process. Yeah.
One big issue is just that we have customers that install application that shouldn't be installed, or we have issue with the Windows Store that have been updated on the process when you try to create your image. So make sure Windows Store is not have contact to the internet, and then you will be safe.
Okay, perfect. I think we will go into the next session.
Yeah.
So we wrap up the update session, and we'll be back with troubleshooting.
Windows 10.
So we're back again, and it's a short break.
Yeah, it's really short. Sorry.
We talked about updating. We have talked about creating images, and sometimes stuff go wrong.
Yeah.
You've heard that?
Yeah, it can happen.
It can happen.
Even in Upkeeper.
Even in Upkeeper. So let's talk about a little bit about that.
Yeah. Windows 10 installation. When we install a new machine, we start with the PXE. We boot a USB drive or a DVD. If you have a CD or something, we can have the ISO there. Upkeeper SUS. What will happen if we boot on WinPE? It will read the INI file. And if we have something that's wrong in the WinPE, Upkeeper SUS, we can find some log in the X Windows Panther to see. We can add some customization here. Can be good. We have, if you will need to add some power settings, so we run Upkeeper SUS in performance mode. We'll perhaps save 2 to 5 minutes. In that, it can be a good thing.
Yes, absolutely.
We have here we have seen some customer have the problem with DNS, where the solution has been that we add a ping to the Upkeeper client API. So we ping it, or we ping the file share that will be used, or they have some issue with there.
So the ping is actually to get the IP to
wake up
the TCP protocol and so on.
Yeah, it's more like waking up the SMB share, or make sure the client
is ready for connection and so on.
Connection.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And next step, we have some pre-command. In the hardware, we can add a pre-command if you want to run. If we want to change, run some command from Dell or Lenovo that we change some settings on the hardware. We change to RAID or change to HC disk modes, or activate UEFI. We can run it here, and we'll find if something gets wrong there. We will find in the Windows System 32 log. We will find some information there. What's happening. The next step is to run the platform that we talked about. We deployed our OS image or run something else. This is the most common that we run to unpack the Windows image. Earlier it was ImageX. Perhaps we will run manage BDE to activate the BitLocker if we want that, or we can use Upkeeper function to activate the BitLocker there. 2 different ways. We go on. We have some, if we have some settings that have to be added after we have deployed the image. Windows 10 or Windows 7 or 8 has lots of drivers that are included in the image, but we have some hardware that are some little special that we need to add some drivers before we boot up on the Windows 10. So here we have opportunity to install some drivers in the image before we boot on before we leave Upkeeper SUS and start on the Windows 10. So we can add, and we use DISM to install on offline the image to install the drivers. Just make sure the drivers are included in the hardware profile that needs to be installed. And we have next is where we will, before the machine is domain joined, we have opportunity to run some command, run synchronous command. We have some customers that have issue with the network driver, network card, so we can trigger the driver installation one more time and make sure we have network on the machine before we go to the phase where we domain join the machine, and so on. And we have some log files. We can see we have often a Panther and the log and the Panther folder, and it can be on X or on the C drive depending on where we are in the process.
Yeah.
And then in the end, now we are where Windows 10 will do the first logon command. We log on with the administrator account. Here we can add some command. Here we have a Windows reseal script that will install AppKeeper client and hide the service partition in the Windows folder, and perhaps have some other settings or script. In run synchronous command, everything will run with local system, and with first logon command it will run with a local administrator account. Good to know.
That's really good information.
And then we are finished. If we have some issues with the machine, we can find it in the Windows Panther folder, or in the Windows Debug folder, or in the Windows Inf folder, depending on what issue we have. If we have an issue with some settings in Windows 10, it will be a Panther. If we have issue with domain join, you will find it in the debug folder. And if you have something with the drivers, then it will be the inf folder. You will find 2 log files for that.
Yeah, so that's really good path to know for technicians to go into and search for these logs. There are a lot of log files, and there are a lot of rows in those log files, but they are worth to know and go through, and you can search for normally error, and you can find what's gone wrong. Really great picture, by the way.
I saw it. This was in Swedish.
Yeah.
So now we have it in English, and you can read it in Swedish now.
Yeah, we have to translate this into English.
Sorry about that.
Great. So that's about troubleshooting.
No. We have
even more about troubleshooting.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's take a look. It's not so easy to read just lots of information in log files, and we have some customers have some problem with the in Windows AppKeeper SUS, WinPE, and there are some steps you can. When you open it, you will have lots of more text. I have cleaned up a little, but we'll see some step we are doing. We get some IP configuration. If you don't get an IP address, then you need to update your drivers for the network card
in the service operating system.
Yes. If you don't get access to the disk, you need to add drivers for that disk, so you have support for it, and so on. And if you don't get if you just only get black screen, you need to update ADK with a newer version, so you're running too old, so you get support for a newer machine. So black screen, update ADK. Just uninstall and install the new one. We get some computer information. We try to connect to AppKeeper client API and get some information about this machine. And we can see in this case where this machine has the KUFI. We can see we have our identity, so we can find the machine. If you don't get an ID, you will prompt for a passphrase or log on and choose what AppKeeper object will be connected to this hardware, and so on. So if this is empty, you have some issues with that. Get some pre-command and post-command for this hardware, and we'll take a look at assignment. And you will see if we have a distribution point, and we'll try to connect to it. Now we have, in 4.7, we have support to connect to a distribution point over HTTPS. but it will only work when you deploy when you have your image, not for unattended. Unattended need an SSB share. So we can connect to our distribution point. We will see if we have an XML file, the settings, that is correct, so we don't have any wrong settings there. It will get this part script, and next will be run the disk part, and it will check if this have those drivers letters that is needed to continue, and we'll copy some files that are needed and for boot store and for upkeep as SUS. So when we reinstall this machine later, we have all the files that's necessary. So we have some copy of some files here. Make sure you don't get any errors here, of course, in every part on the script.
And this looks different if it's an UEFI machine or if it's a legacy BIOS machine, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
But most commonly is running the FVM right now. Yeah. And the copying is there. We'll create our BSD, we'll create our boot store for upkeep as SUS. It will install our image, and it will check if you have a newer one on the distribution point. If you have a new one, it will start copying the file, else it will deploy that is on local machine. So we have some control here, we'll check, and we do some copy of the file. And here we can see it just copying from one folder to another folder, and that's why we need to make sure we have the same name of the image file and the name of the folder. Else we perhaps get some issue with the disk space on the service partition. And it will run the command to deploy our Vim file. And after that, it will create our XML file. So in beginning, we check that we have one, and now it will create the file. And it will create it in the Panther folder, so Windows knows can find it. And this is a standard location. And we do some drivers to copy those to the machine and create our Windows boot. So when we reboot the machine, it can boot on the Windows. Here we have some issues. If the machine is running in some mixed mode, it's not the real UEFI and not the real legacy, it's something between there. We have those machines can run a mixed. Then we will have some problem to create a correct boot store. So solution is make sure you have the machine to run only UEFI or only legacy.
Okay.
So fix the Windows to boot store and copy our commands folder. So we have the files for first log on command, and it will copy our SUS main that we will have when we send the reboot on the machine and we want to reinstall the machine later. It will do an import of the SUS or main, depending on what we should do.
And to be clear again, this log file is cleaned up. You have cleaned it up so it's just the text files. It's more messy normally, I must say. Where can I find this log file?
You will find it if you go in the debug mode when you PXE upkeep as SUS. You will get the command prompt, and in the command prompt you will be in system32, and you will find the log file in the subfolder that's called log. You will find it there. If it's hard to read, just send the log file to Peter, and he will find the error.
Send it to me. And I will forward to Roger, and Roger will go through it. Now, I think if you really get into the log file and check it, you will find what's gone wrong, and you will get the information. It's kind of clear, I must say, nowadays.
And when you go through the log file, start in the end and go up, and you can find some error in the end, but it can
be look for the first error in that file. That's a good pointer. That's a good pointer.
That's good.
Yes.
What now?
So I think we have covered troubleshooting. So let's go in for the last part. So we're in the final of this session, so let's take up the chat and have a look. It's kind of hard to read that text this time as well. How
keep stand up.
Yeah, that's a great one. We start with how boot calling is serious. Okay. Sorry. I thought it was a question. I didn't see that. Sorry.
So everything is clear.
Everything is clear. Great. So, do we have any final words? I see that we have really gone way over our estimated time of 30 minutes. Is there any last tips or tricks that we should send our... Yes.
Do you remember test?
What do you mean with test?
Yeah, but you create a new image.
Yeah.
Remember to test it on other hardware, or if you're lucky, you have every type of hardware in your lab environment. So test on all the machine, make sure.
Yeah.
Before you start updating Windows 10, make sure to test that the new Windows 10 version works on the machine and see what do we need to add. Do we need to update some drivers, BIOS, firmware, and so on before we roll out on the whole environment?
Yeah. Great.
So test.
Test, as always, with applications, images, and drivers, and so on, hardware as well. Test, and remember to do it when you change image as well.
Yeah.
So I think that concludes today's session.
I think so.
So thank you for watching, and remember, work less, manage more. Bye.
Bye.